Hi class. I hope everyone's doing well. This is like my fourth time filming this, so I'm getting a little tired of doing this. This is hard. Kudos to Dr. Pillai for being able to do this. So I'm outside filming a little video because I figured you guys would rather do that than read another discussion post because all of our classes are probably discussion post heavy right now. But yeah, I'm outside and I'm beside a road that's not like busy, but like I'm very close to it, so it can probably be kind of loud. So if you hear anything, I apologize. So I wanted to talk about this outbreak in two main little categories. So I wanted to talk about the media side of it, because I'm a communication major. I've taken a lot of classes where we talk about like media effects, and I think that agenda setting theory is something that is really prominent. Granted this isn't my theorization, but agenda setting theory is a thing that people talk about. And I don't know if you guys talk about it in English classes. I'm not an English person. This is like the second or third English class I've taken, other than, like the regular like core ones that like everybody has to take. So agenda setting theory, if you guys don't know, I'll just, flat definition, is the fact that the media tells us what to think about. It's the theory that if the media is talking about something, the public's going to be talking about something. So I think with this virus coverage, it's important to think about how it's been kind of put on our agenda per se. It's in the docket now, like closer to the front of the docket. I don't know if the dockets work front to back or what, but it's been in our line of vision a lot more clearly than it was back when the virus was mainly affecting people across the pond in China. So now that it's here and the media covers on it a lot more, we're going to be thinking about it a lot more. So the main idea behind agenda setting is that the media doesn't tell us what to think, but they tell us what to think about. So if we were to like read more articles about xenophobia and racism behind the messages that like our administration is giving us, like with Donald Trump calling it the Chinese virus and whatnot, if we think about that, or if we're being fed that by the media, then we're going to be able to think a lot more of racism, xenophobia. But if we're just being fed like facts and numbers and preventative measures, then we're going to be thinking about that a lot more. So that's kind of love the South. I don't know if you guys heard that, but lost my train of thought already. But yeah, media effect stuff. And it's also important to think about how the messages that are being conveyed, whether or not they are actually from the media, but if they're being covered by the media, also dictate a lot how we think about things and what we think about them. More so like if we're thinking about them rather than like what our actual opinions are. Something that I probably have a little bit more knowledge about, maybe, is queer stuff. I'm a queer person. That's my identity marker. I can't see things without putting a queer lens on it because I'm a queer person. That's my experience. And with that, and with the selection bias of social media following and whatnot, and the algorithm feeding me stuff from mostly like queer people on the internet, I've seen a discussion about what this pandemic means for queer people. There was talk, I don't know the exact facts behind like this statement, but I know that there was a statement that went out about, obviously people who are old, immunocompromised, whatnot, need to be really careful about how to prevent this virus from affecting their body. But I know there was also talk of people with high-risk lifestyles. So in the South, especially, and it's probably not, specifically the South, but like, I know that South Carolina was a state that kind of dictated what school curriculum said about queer people, especially within the curriculum behind sex ed. They kind of only, so this was recently struck down, very, very recently. South Carolina was a state where school educators could not talk, public school educators could not talk about the queer lifestyle outside of talking about sexually transmitted infections. So that pigeonholed the queer community into being thought of as a high-risk lifestyle. So with this virus coming up and the, public health officials talking about high-risk lifestyles, and people kind of think about what that means, they think about queer people as having high-risk lifestyles. And what does it really mean to have a high-risk lifestyle? I think what a lot of people think of when they think about queer people having high-risk lifestyles is probably going to be about sex, because during the AIDS crisis of the late 1900s, there was AIDS. There was a lot of speculation about why the queer community was especially prone to contracting AIDS. And I think a lot of it had to do with misconceptions behind gay sex, because it wasn't something that was being educated on a lot. And a lot of people also conflate anal sex with queer sex, which is not true, even though it's one of the primary methods, especially for gay men. But all that being said, and sorry for getting a little too crass there if you're more, reserved about sex stuff, being queer is not a high-risk lifestyle, or it doesn't have to be. Or any lifestyle could be a high-risk lifestyle, whether you're queer, not queer. You can have a high-risk lifestyle no matter who you are. So I read a rebuttal to that line of thinking about queer people being high risk. And this one guy said, I don't live a high-risk lifestyle. I don't participate in hookups with strangers. I take preventative drugs to do that kind of, to practice safety with sexual intercourse, like HIV preventative drugs, practicing safe sex, not being a part of the kind of illicit drug use culture within the gay community, and just generally just being safe, not partying, doing that kind of thing. Someone said that purely being queer does not paint somebody as living a more high-risk lifestyle, but that you can have a high-risk lifestyle and not be someone who is queer identifying. His point, or their point, honestly don't remember who I saw this from, I don't know pronouns, but the point that was made was any lifestyle can be high risk. And I think thinking about things through the lens that I have as a queer person, and just knowing that no matter my personal background, no matter what people think about me, no matter how I present myself as a person who cusses like a sailor, has a lot of tattoos, identifies as queer, those kind of things, none of that dictates the lifestyle that I lead, and none of that paints me as a high-risk person. All my tattoos were done in a shop. I don't party. I'm honestly kind of an introvert. I'm not, the most socially outgoing, and so on and so forth. But, some people are. I'm sure there are a lot of people with heavy tattoos that identify as queer who are extremely social and who probably, use drugs and who do those kind of things. But just pigeonholing people and stereotyping them, while I kind of am a person who, and this is really nuanced, believes that stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason and that there are good stereotypes and bad stereotypes, stereotyping people is not great, and using it as a heuristic for judging people off the cuff is not smart and not a good idea. So I hope that rambling made sense. I'm approaching 10 minutes and I don't know how long Photo Booth lets you record videos for. So I hope you're all staying safe. Yeah, this is my sign off. See ya.